Good morning, all.
Good
Good
morning,
morning.
see.
Good morning, Mansi. Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all. Day 10 of the ongoing book, Surrounded by Idiots. Since we started this book, we are understanding the people behavior and different personalities, how we can approach and how we can adapt. Last week, we started reading about how we have to adapt or how each colors we have to adapt with others. And in detail, we also read about that how body language works in the different personalities. We are going we are continuing that adapting behavior. We covered so far red, green, and yellow, and today we are going to cover the last the color adapting to the blue behavior. We will continue reading. I will start reading few pages, then I will hand over to people, those who have mentioned the name in the chat session. Those who want to read next, please you type your name there. We can do the handover. Adapting to blue behavior. What a blue expects of you. It's best to think everything all the way through from the beginning. A blue prepares meticulously. If you have planned to meet a certain place at a certain time, you can rest assured that he will be there. A blue will have gone through all the material, analyzed everything down to the smallest detail, and he will be prepared to discuss just about anything on the topic. He will have an alternative plan and a contingency plan for that as well. He is thought of everything, so you should too. Being blue is a little like doing military service. No excuses will be allowed. If you get a flat tire, you should be prepared for it. If there is a puncture in the spare tire, you must have a plan for that too. A blue will have some critical questions if you say something like, "That's just the way it is." The next time you meet him, his confidence in you will be tarnished. Conclusion. Make sure you can show that you have done your homework and are well prepared. For example, when a blue customer or policymaker has a question, you should be able to pull out that exact folder from your briefcase. Don't make a big deal out of knowing the answer. He expected nothing less. And most important, if you don't have the answer, just say so. Acknowledge that you don't know. Don't offer any excuse just to get out of the situation. When the blue discovers the white lie, and he will, you will fall out of favor. It's not a, it's not ideal to have to come back with the answer the next day, but it's definitely preferable to telling a fib. A car salesman I know usually says that when he meets blue customers, he knows from the outset that the customer is more informed about a particular model of a car than he. Since as a seller, he might have 50 models to keep track of. Blue customers don't ask questions to find things out. They ask to confirm what they already know. So the car salesman doesn't even try to pretend anymore. If he doesn't know the answer, he acknowledges it and then finds out. It's the only way to win a blue customer's confidence. We are not here to hang out and be cozy. This is a given if we are referring to a working relationship. Stick to the job. Make sure to stay focused on the task at hand. A blue is not at all interested in your personal preferences or what you think about his choice of car, house, sport, or anything else that is not related to work. He is that to work. Period. I remember once that after about 5 or 6 meetings with a personal manager in a big company, I thought I had gotten to know him. We had passed the stage of shaking hands every time, and by now he knew how I preferred my coffee. At the seventh visit, It occurred to me ask him what he planned to do over the holidays. I don't know what came over me. At first, his look became vacant, and then his anxious eyes began to wander all over the room. I ended up saying some nonsense to cover up my mistake. I hadn't told him what I had done on my holidays either. About 4 visits later, he informed me gently that he planned to go to Thailand over the New Year's with his family. That was the opening. Conclusion: stick to the task. Work with checklists where factual matters are noted. Things you can tick off together with the blue. If you are yellow, put a part of your spontaneity aside. For that matter, put away as much spontaneity as you can. Force yourself to do one thing at a time. Remind yourself that a blue will rarely or never ask how things are going or show interest in your personal problems. Don't ask how things are going for him on a personal level either. The word itself would be his answer. Personal. This is private. Stay off. In time, he will open up if he wants to. It's not that he doesn't like you. He just to work first. Accept this and it will go well. Okay, now I hand over to Anjali. Please take it forward.
No vision necessary. Let's all stay in the real world. Thank you very much. Your blue friends aren't flying around up there in the blue sky. They are on the ground using their critical minds to judge whether things are realistic or not. While you may think they are boring, suspicious, or downright pessimistic, they believe that they are only realists. They want to know what reality looks like, not what the world looks like if you are a dreamer or a visionary. I remember once when I was working in the banking world, we were having a kickoff event and I wanted to inspire my team to do great things, the likes of which had never before been seen. I finished my rousing speech by exclaiming, soon we will stand on top of the peak of success and look down on the market we have conquered. We, all of us, will be atop that mountain. While both yellow and red, and to a certain extent green employees smiled and were hyped up, the blues only said one thing. We can't imagine ourselves up there. How did we get up there? The yellows shouted, don't you have any vision? And the blues replied, we have Excel. If a plan seems crazy, the a blue will never have any confidence in it. There is no point in playing on his feelings or trying to promote ideas that are way too wild. What you say needs to have realistic perspectives, otherwise, you won't get anywhere. Conclusion: think through what you want to say and what you want to convince a blue to believe. Put daydreams and visions aside. It may even be worth rethinking the kind of language you will use to talk about your plan. Skip all those inspirational speeches that yellows and reds adore. Stick to the facts and be clear. If you have an idea that hasn't been tested before, try to set reasonable goals. Don't say that you will dominate the market within 3 months or that the little league team will win the championship despite having lost all of their matches so far. They will only consider you a lunatic. If you have yellow in your own profile, you should really think twice about how you interact with blues. You are already fighting an uphill battle so far as a blue is concerned, and be careful to avoid any overly dramatic body language. Details. Facts are only things that matter. Details are essential to communicating with the blue. If you really want to get through to them, you must make sure to be very exact. Carelessness or ignoring the details won't be appreciated. More than one seller has been turned out of a sales visit due to negligence for failing to know the nitty gritty details. And remember that it's not a question of whether the details are crucial for a particular decision or not. They may have no real bearing on the issue at all, but a blue decision maker simply wants to know. He also wants to know exactly. If you are asked How much a particular product cost? Don't say about $10. Say $9.73. It is a precise answer. A blue is more interested in an exact price than a low price. He may very well negotiate, but he wants to know the precise cost. Conclusion. Prepare yourself well. When you think you are prepared and that you know all there is to know about an issue, go through it all one more time. Make sure you have answers to absolutely everything, except that this person might want to have more data to feel secure. Give him the details he needs in order to move on. He will always wonder if there is any more information, but this way you can keep his calm and you hope content. There's no substitute for quality. Quality is what drives a blue. Everything else is secondary. Everything else he focuses on stems from a deeply rooted desire that everything must be perfect. A blue is discontented if he is not allowed to perform his work to an exacting standard. It has nothing to do with what quality of work is actually needed. It's simply due to his belief that things must always be done the proper way. This, of course, takes a huge amount of time, but the advantage is obvious. If you do it right from the beginning, you will avoid having to redo it. This is actually a great way of saving time. But since a blue does not think in terms of hours, days, or even weeks, but rather in months and years, he doesn't see the potential downside of his exacting standards. If a thing is worth doing, it's worth doing right, and that takes time. It's as simple as that. Conclusion. Be particularly meticulous in your work when trying to impress a blue. Otherwise, he will view you as sloppy and careless. You should be on your guard about expressing yourself using negative terms concerning how the blue spends too much time just on quality. Use words like careful control, properly inspected, the importance of quality. Avoid criticizing blues for taking too much time or fussing over details that may be unnecessary. Instead, praise them for their attention to detail and the superior work they do. Let the blue understand that you are doing quality work and that you understand its value. This means that you should prepare very carefully before any meetings with a blue. He judges you by the merit of the work you create, not by how funny you are, not by who you are, not by whether or not you invite him to fancy lunches. None of this means anything if you are careless. When you are finished with a task, double check it. If possible, triple check. Have someone else look at it. Only then should you show it to your blue colleague. How to behave when you meet a blue. Just agreeing to a blues initiative would be like driving a car with the parking brake on. Your task is most likely to get things moving, but you can't just hit the gas. Instead, you need to find the right lever to pull and take off the blue parking brake. A blue has feelings like everyone else and he appreciates people. It just looks a little different because most of a blue's emotions are self contained. He may seem a little cold, no facial expressions to speak of, no gestures, no emotional expressions at all. Blues often don't seem interested in other people and simply focus on the issue at hand. If we are sitting in an accounting firm or if we are trying to solve an important problem in the company, then this is a good approach. But every time other people, especially yellows or greens, are involved, a blue's tendency to dissociate from others can be problematic. He simply doesn't realize that other people don't function in the same way. People want to feel like they can relate to this person. They don't want to feel like robots. Conclusion. Remind him that other people have feelings. Give examples of all times when he bruised other people's feelings, like when he pointed out all the flaws in the neighbor's new house. Explain that he doesn't need to express himself critically all the time. Show him that people can take great offense when others criticize their home, car, spouse, or children. Be clear and tell him that being honest isn't an excuse for being callous, and remind him that it isn't as simple as saying things as they are. He didn't say things as they are. He only said what he thought or believed about a certain thing. Point out that constant criticism rarely accomplishes anything. This won't be an easy task because he will think that you are wrong. He has every right to criticize and point out errors and flaws. If he sees an error, he can't just ignore it. You might just have to tell him that he is being impossible. Anilji, you can take from here. Oh, yes, new topic.
You yeah, point out, no? Even that, yes. Okay. The devil's in the detail. Have you ever listened to a blue tell an interesting story? Let's say he got a flat on the highway. He will begin by saying that his is Sony Sony rang a minute earlier because it was Thursday. And on Thursday he gargles a little longer with glycerin. The the green kind since a test done by Consumers Union, the largest independent consumer testing organization in the world. In the bulletin issued last March clearly demonstrated that it is preferable. Breakfast consisted of two 7-minute egg and coffee. Nespresso has a new roast, but he didn't enjoy it. At least 9% of the beans were damaged, which made him reflect on how bean structure affects the mouthfeel of the coffee. Then he fetched the newspaper, the New York Times, since they had made a special offer 18% discount for 3 months. At the post office, he spoke to his neighbor, who also reads the New York Times, about the best way to take care of the lawn in September. There's an interesting website that discuss different type of Ottoman fertilizers, very fascinating. Rome was not built in a day. Haste is only for sloppy people. We can tell blues to hurry up, but it goes in one ear and out the other. Speed is not an end in itself. Oftentimes, blues slow down even more when they are feeling stress. Since in a high stakes situation, you really don't have time to make mistakes. Better to be careful to avoid time consuming fixes. This may be true, but sometimes things are urgent, particularly in our fast paced society. Hurry to work, hurry at work, hurry home from the same job, hurry in school, in traffic, in the supermarket, everywhere. Everything is urgent. I don't encourage any form of behavior that may lead to stress related illness, but sometimes you have to speed up in order to stay in the race. Outwardly, the blue is quite unmoved. He works at his own pace without worrying that those around him may burn out from their more hectic pace. They actually have themselves to blame. Conclusion: calmly and methodically tell the blue that next week he will need to work at a faster pace. Explain exactly why this is so important. Establish that you have only 48 hours left to complete the project. This time is precious and must be used correctly. Point to the big picture. Give him a valid reason. He should go against his instincts. You can readily prove your point by highlighting the long term plan. We must stay on track or we will miss our next deadline. If, for example, you are talking about renovating your house, it might be helpful to negotiate in advance when everything will be ready. If the in-laws are arriving in 4 weeks, then the house must be done by them. no matter what. Calculate how many hours can be devoted to the renovations. Decide which activities should be given priority. Make sure that the blue sticks to his schedule and keeps moving forward once he has completed each task. Otherwise, the risk is that he will spend 5 hours polishing the final detail, time that he doesn't have. If you have all the time in the world, well, that's another matter. If it's in the book, it must be true. Can't we go by our gut feeling? Try saying that to a strictly blue individual and see what happens. Gut feeling is the opposite of rational thought, and nothing could be more foreign to the blue. Wait a minute. Does this mean that you should never use your own intuitions if you are working with blues? Even blue individuals have what we call a sixth sense or nose for what can be right. The difference is that they don't trust it because it can, of course, be wrong. The problem is that it's it's impossible to prove anything with the help of gut feeling. The only thing that counts is the facts. And even the facts might not be enough. There may be more information out there that would change everything. Conclusion: tell your blue friend that if he has to make a decision without all the facts, he can follow his gut. This can apply to work or ordering at a new restaurant. Speak clearly and loudly to the blue and explain that if he doesn't make a decision, he will end up going hungry. Prove that it's better to do something rather than remaining paralyzed, waiting for more information. Point out that it's logical to use intuition in this situation because you don't have all of the facts. Explain that the results will be still be good, maybe just 95.3% of what they could be, but still good. Help him to calculate risk, but also to move on. Decision made here. Because the blue experiences the decision itself as less important than the path to the decision. Stagnation can occur after painstakingly collecting facts and meticulously studying all available conditions. You finally come to the moment of truth, the decision. There is a risk that everything can dead on the one hand, but on the other hand, a project manager I met a few years ago wanted to buy a new car. For 8 months, he test drove 16 different Max, over 50 different models in different combination, different engines, bodies, transmission, interiors, colors. He tried everything: fabric versus leather, upholstery, gas versus diesel, automatic versus manual. He did calculation on the fuel consumption and depreciation and gave different graphs to the respective car salesman for an evaluation. After considerable internal torment, he bought a Volvo V70, then the country's most popular car, in a metallic silver, the most popular car at that time. This particular model was the most tested car of all by the various consumer agencies that year. You would think he could have picked that car just by reading about it. Why did you go and buy the most common, boring car after all the research? Everyone asked. Why not? He replied. You can help with the blues decision stagnation. Provide him with the crucial piece to the puzzle. Softly and gently try to steer him in the right direction, or in any case, in a direction. Conclusion: pay attention to when the decision process stalls out. Suppose, for example, two equally strong candidates have applied for a opening at your company. So far, everything has gone well. The blue decision makers has submitted detailed information via email and kept everyone informed about the necessary steps. The process has been followed to the letter. In order to get something to happen, provide the decision maker with the necessary data required for him to make a decision about one of the candidates. Push him to make a choice. Remind him that the deadline is approaching. Point out the repercussions of delaying the decisions. The quality of the company's work will suffer if, if he doesn't hire a new employee. Explaining that everything has been properly considered and that regardless of which candidates he chooses, all the risks have been eliminated. In conclusion, now you have come now you have some basic information about how you can interact with the different colors so that you can get to where you want to go. The first step is to try to tune into the frequency of others, then adapt to them. In this way you gain their trust and they are able to recognize themselves in you. So the basic rule is to meet a red with red behavior, yellow with yellow, green with green, and finally blue with the blue. You may think that it sounds simple. The difficulty comes, for example, if you are yellow and must adapt to a blue. You might need more training here. It depends on what color you are, how strong your self awareness is, how willing you are make headway with a specific contact in your everyday life. You can always do what Adam did. You can continue being yourself. The next step will be to start leading the person away from common pitfalls. As you have seen, each color has its own weaknesses. Here, a blue can help a yellow become more concrete, and the yellow can perhaps pursue the blue to loosen up, be a little more spontaneous. At the risk of sounding clinched, it's all about working together, about meeting one another in middle. You already knew that, but now you know how to do it. Now, the Suman, you can take.
Yes, yes.
Wait a minute. Let me check how many pages are remaining. Uh, how to deliver this chapter. 157. It will go till 175. Around 18, 17 pages are there. You can go for 5 pages. See, we have to, if we start now, we have to continue 5 more pages. Is it okay?
Yes. Rajesh, can I start?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. How to deliver really bad news. The challenge of speaking your mind. Who looks forward to bad news? No one. And yet, every now and then, we still need to break some bad news. In the world around us, the unexpected can happen, and sometimes the Lord falls to you to inform someone about something negative. Reds are the best at delivering news that no one wants to hear. Rather insensitively, they will just come out and say that you have been fired before asking you if you would like milk in your coffee. Tricky? No, not at all. He was just finished with the task at hand. But there is a difference, of course, between bad news and bad news. It's one thing to convey a personal criticism and another to tell you that your grandmother has just died. The latter is always difficult and no one will receive that news well. However, the former can be fine tuned and adjusted in a way that makes it easier for someone to receive. Feedback alone is a gigantic approach. It gives many people a stomach ache just thinking about it, and many people I meet during my leadership programs find this area particularly difficult. Not only is it difficult to give feedback, but it also seems to be different to receive it. This is really strange because the latter means just sitting there and listening. But anyone who has received some hard criticism and left the room afterwards knows that sometimes you cannot utter a word. When delivered badly, it will leave you feeling sick. The solution for many executives I meet seems to be simply skipping giving any kind of feedback. We don't know how to give either positive or a negative feedback, so we ignore it. I hardly need to point out why this isn't a good solution. The downside of just doing your job. Once, many years ago, I had a colleague, Mike, who was exceptionally good at his job. Of all of us, he was the one who always met his budget targets. He had won every sales contest and was held in high esteem by customers. Boxes of chocolates and bottles of wine would arrive for him from far and wide on a regular basis. What do you do with a challenge like that, colleague like that? You make sure that he stays. Easier said than done. As his boss, I wanted to show my appreciation for all his hard work. So I called his wife and prepared everything. One Friday, just after lunch, I summoned the team to the conference room. In front of everyone, I pulled Mike up and explained that he was greatly appreciated and that we as a group wanted to show how happy we were to have him on our team. I said he should take the rest of the afternoon off, take his wife out to dinner, and go to the cinema, and that I would food the bill. I gave him $50. You understand that this was some years ago, and two movie tickets. The babysitter was already arranged, so off Mike went. We cheered and applauded a little more, and the whole thing became a big feel good moment. Mike didn't say a word until afterwards. He took me aside and gave me one of the worst telling offs I have ever received. How could I do that to him? Parade him out in front of all 27 people who just stood and stared at him. Awful. He was just doing his job. He made me promise never to do anything like that again. He was mad with me for a week. Mike was green. Does this give you any clues? Feedback immunity. There are many ways to give feedback, whether positive or negative, in the wrong way. Now I'm going to share some ways you can properly give feedback. The funny thing is that this approach works just as well whether the feedback is positive or negative. Some people are immune to the first kind, others to the later. I have chosen to focus on negative feedback as this is typically the most difficult. If you can manage to deliver that, then you can probably manage the positive. The following advice works just as well for your private life as it does for work. The only thing you need to know is what color your target is. So it begins as usual by you analyzing what colors are in the room. Once you have done that, you just have to set to work. The aim is to get the person to listen to your comments and ultimately to create change. All of the challenges of the previous chapter about how others may perceive the different colors can be dealt with if you just know how. The next sections explain just that. Many of the basic techniques in each section are similar no matter what color you're talking to, but in each case, the way you approach the person will vary depending on who he is and how he will receive the feedback. How to give feedback to a red if you dare. Yeah, is anyone interested to go ahead or should I continue?
Yeah, I married.
Yeah, please go ahead. Thank
Yeah.
you.
How to give feedback to a red if you dare. Good news. You don't need any great skill to give negative feedback to a red. The only thing you need is a Kevlar vest and fire resistant hair. Because no matter how you do it, the temperature in the room will rise. If you are prepared for it, there won't be any major problems. But if a red doesn't respond to what you say, then you have reason to worry. Either he is ignoring you or what you are saying, or he is seriously ill. But the following scenario is the most common, so hold on to your hat. Don't gift wrap things. Let me be very clear here. When you are conveying criticism to a red, the simplest way to do is to avoid any form of decorative wrapping. It is enough of a challenge to even get through to reds with your criticism because a red always believes that he is right and you are wrong. Many years ago, I discussed red behavior with a group of sellers, most of who were yellow. They understood quite quickly what red behavior was, and the reddest person who came to mind at that time was their boss, the sales director. They described him as boorish, a bad listener, completely insensitive, manipulative, unrelenting, often in a foul mood, too much in a hurry, plus a whole bunch of other less flattering descriptors. The group was seriously concerned because they suspected that he hated his staff. Sure, he also worked very hard, and they respected him for that. But since he sometimes asked for ideas and then proceeded to lambast anything that didn't suit his own agenda, they never got anywhere. Besides that, he controlled everything they did in detail, which was probably the reason he worked so hard. The whole situation sounded disturbing, and the sales team would soon fall apart if nothing was done. I called the sales director in and explained what the group had said. He listened with increasing interest, but without showing any great concern. But his reaction was interesting. Once I had explained to him that his 20 sales reps, the most important resource he had to reach his personal goals, thought that he was an insensitive and aggressive son of a bitch. He replied, "This is just a handful of anecdotes. It is not about me. It is their incompetence that is the problem. If they just work harder and did a better job, I would not have to push them so hard." When I explained that his impatience was stressing the group and made the sales reps insecure in their work, he replied that it was not his fault. Impatience was not a weakness, it was a strength for Peter's sake. If he were to drag his feet the same way everyone else was doing in this company, nothing would get done. If they just bothered to increase their pace a little bit, then he could calm down and not be so aggressive. But the problem was not really him, it was them. Give very concrete examples. As is often the case with Reds, everyone else was the real cause of the problem. Although Reds are efficient at getting things done, they can also be quick to appoint scapegoats. Remember the competitive element that constantly lies in wait beneath the surface. My way of getting through to this man was to break the whole thing down into tiny pieces and point to Specific examples. For instance, I explained that when he at 9 o'clock on a Friday night called up a seller to grill him about a particular customer, he ruined the poor man's weekend. There was no point in saying that the sales rep was a nervous wreck or that he could not sleep because this boss would just have ignored it. He was not responsible for how people felt. However, I was able to point out that the sales rep would come back to work on Monday morning, completely exhausted by the mental effort, and then he would not be able to do his job to the best of his ability. Nothing would be sold that day. By coaching the sales director to give clear answers, I got him to see that he would have problems if his sales team was not able to perform. Suddenly, he had a reason to rethink. Stick to the facts. Another trick to keep in mind: a red is not that interested in the feelings of others or what people think. He prefers to focus on facts and likes to fix things. He sees himself as an excellent problem solver. I delivered my criticism by placing the boss in the position of the only key to the team's success. Basically, it appealed to his ego. He saw himself as the great leader whose ability to lead the group was the critical factor in creating total dominance in the industry. Be prepared for the war. So, step by step, example after example, situation to situation, I went through the sales team's perception of him. The sales director protested each time and without exception argued strongly against any hint of personal criticism. The only thing he did was his job. For every example I gave, I had to repeat the same thing. It didn't matter what he thought. As long as this was what the sales reps thought, he had a problem. He swore and fussed and accused me of incompetence. He would never hire me again. No one would ever hire me again after the uncalled for attack I had subjected him to. I was finished in the industry. I refused to play along with his ranting and raving. I leaned back in my chair and waited for the storm to abate. The worst thing you can do in such a situation is play along with the theatrics and start yelling and pounding your fist on the table. The Red's natural instinct to win any given situation will then take over completely. He won't be able to think long term and will become focused on winning right now. He will ignore the fact that we are working together and that we are going to meet again tomorrow. He is out to win in this moment, even if it costs him a relationship. He ignores the consequences, aggression takes over, and the real battle begins. But if you refuse to play along, you can manage Red's anger. So I remained seated, and when he finally calmed down, I simply continued to the next point without saying a single word to indicate that I had been influenced by his ranting and raving. Step by step, I got him to see the impact of his conduct on the group, and little by little, he began to realize that he had to learn to control himself when things didn't go his way at work. He needed to take it easier on other people, to avoid placing unreasonable demands on others and on himself, and to wait for deadlines instead of demanding delivery a week early just because he was bored. Ask the person to repeat what you said. Seen from the outside, this whole incident probably looks like a violent quarrel. but I knew that I could make real progress if I didn't let up. So I did so I did what I recommend everyone trying to give negative feedback to a red should do. Asked the red to repeat what we would both just agreed on. So this sales director had to obediently explain how he would act in the future, point by point, in certain specific situations. I had a mandate from the CEO to do this, and we both knew it. And yet, even though intellectually he knew that I was right, he could not give in. He crossed out one of the less important items on the list, clearly showing that it was a victory for him. Somehow, he still had to win. Conclusion: prepare yourself extremely well and try not to give negative feedback to Red if you are not feeling strong that day. You need to be full of self confidence. So choose your opportunity carefully. A Red is always strong, always full of self confidence. So for him, it doesn't matter. He will ride into the battle at a moment's notice if necessary, and prepare yourself for the possibility that he might try to turn the tables. He will accuse you of everything under the sun so that he can feel he has the upper hand. Don't fall into his trap.
Okay. Thank you, Pranavi. Thank you, Anjali, Anil, Suman, for everyone for the wonderful reading today. Okay, let's come to end of today's reading, and we will have remaining 8 minutes to have a discussion. We have covered two chapters today: how to adapt blue behavior and how to give feedback to the red people. Anyone would like to share your thoughts about uh, the first chapter, what we read about how to adapt blue behavior?
Yes, Rajesh, I would like to say.
Yeah.
So, I feel my husband has a kind of blue traits in him. See, actually, no one is completely of same one color, and he's also a mixture of green and blue. But blue, I can relate one example what author also mentioned about the details. So many times, what happens if my husband is planning a trip also, he would go into too much of detailing of the itinerary, like the hotels, the timing also, the timing of the taxis, booking everything, the places of sightseeing, and that too with time and precision. Like the taxi should be there at this time, at that moment, and if we are not getting it, like we are not able to plan it also many times because of too much of details. And if he's not able to contact there, or if he's not getting the exact details, we end up canceling the trip. So it happens that too much of detailing is really sometimes very difficult. You cannot manage, na? You cannot expect everything to be so perfect. So we have to let go of those details at times. This is what I feel, but it happens, and it is very difficult to understand, make them understand also. Okay, let it be. Na, we can just go have some adventure, or we can go and try on our own. Yeah, it is. It happens. This was an example I could relate. One author also said about this, the detailed thing, and another is like, yeah, the blue behavior that don't lie. Lie is also something I can relate. If it, I think even I have that trait, because I easily catch a lie, or I'm not happy with anyone telling. I say whatever you have to say, be it clear. And it is better to tell a lie, better to say a truth than tell 100 lies. It is always what I believe. So this also something I could relate. That's all. Yeah, two things. That's all
Thank
from
you.
my side.
Thank you, Anjali, for sharing your personal experience with that, the blue behavior. Yes, of course, when the blue behavior, I think they are more in detail and they expect everything to be happen. Or they create a scene by scene. Okay, this is how it going to happen. It should happen. Now, tell me, I think if the things are not okay, if the things are not happening, we have planned all those things, and when you reach the place or when you get into that particular work, the things are not happening. How blue reacts, or how blue responds when the things are not going to their favor. Anjali or anyone?
I didn't get the question, Rajesh.
No.
Please repeat.
See, the blue different. Basically, they planned everything in detail and they uh, they prepare everything.
Yes,
But
yes.
how they behave when the things are not happening
Oh,
as
they
they
are very
expected?
silent. Like as I said, he is green most of the time. So he is very silent. We all get frustrated. We are all are irritated ki why our time is getting wasted. We have only 2 days or 3 days. The weekend we are planning. Why can't we just go drive and see whatever hotel we get? We can just drop it. But he is so calm. He said, no, no, just wait. Listen, I am talking to people around. So he sits silently as if nothing happens. Even if the trip is cancelled, it doesn't affect him. So he's very calm that time. But he wants all the thing done meticulously. He needs all the detailing. So that's what I said. Na, he's a mixture of green and blue. So it becomes really irritating at times. And we end up canceling the trip.
Yeah, yeah. I think in that place, if there is any red or yellow is there, then definitely they cannot accept that one. For example, if any of the kid is
Yes.
yellow, they want to explore the new things and they are least bothered about the planning and materials and all these things and preparing. Let's go and enjoy and find out whatever we can do on the way. That is how they try to approach. But here, it's connecting or the mingling with this such two different colors. It's really challenging one, especially if you have something in the family. I think the mom will be having a very tough time to manage all those things to fulfill their expectations of uh, these different
Yes, and I said
patterns.
as my daughter is yellow, na, she is very talkative and very hyperactive. So they
Mm.
end up they start arguing also. They have a good fight because she's a mixture of red and yellow, and my husband is like green and blue. So they are total contrast. It happens. It's like very chaotic situation that time. But as I said, no, it we don't reach to any conclusion. We just end up sitting at home.
Yes, Suman, would you like to share anything about
Yeah.
this?
I just wanted to say what the writer was saying. To deal with the blue, you have
Mm.
to tell them the calculated risks in advance. So, first of all, you have to be very smart to adapt to the frequency of the colors we are surrounded with. Yeah, for that, like blue for blue, he was telling that the deadline is approaching or the calculated risks you have to tell them. Once you are prepared for that and you have informed them, like in Anjali's case, the next time he will be aware that my trip was cancelled due to my negligence, and next time I have to be aware with that.
Suman,
Maybe,
as I said,
yeah.
he's a green also.
Okay,
They
okay,
are
okay.
laid back. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make any difference to him.
Okay, okay.
That's what no, he was not at all. He is so calm.
So next, what how to adapt to the green also, that also we will have to read and act accordingly.
Yes, yes. So we look into the combinations, how to
Yes,
deal with
yes.
combinations.
Yeah, very true. Yeah,
Yeah.
but truly, after reading this book, I am getting very conscious about the person's behavior whom I am surrounded with. That, and I can really relate to, yes, this is the color. Now I have to behave accordingly. This and it. I think it matters a lot if we are conscious regarding these behaviors.
Yes, Suman, I think we everyone, I think those who are reading this book, we constantly think about, okay, if we are interacting with someone, we think about, hey, which color this person will come to a category. Okay, how I have to approach her, how I can handle them in different way. Our mind process, yeah, I think that's one big learning from this book.
Yes.
Yes, when we are dealing with, I think there are certain things we have to avoid. We have to, I think, don't be disorganized. I think when we are interacting with such, let's show them, okay, I am also organized. I also follow this one structured. And don't interrupt that process, the thought process. And don't use the emotional persuasions. When you use that, the emotional persuasion, like the expressions, they are least bothered about it. They always trust about the logic and statistics, not that they are not giving much importance to the feelings how this person thinks about it. And also, don't surprise them changing the plans every often. They cannot adapt it for changing the plan in between in on the spot. They have to continue as the plan how it is. Okay, let's stop this. Anyone would like to share any thoughts? I think you can take a 1 minute to share about Pranavi. Yeah, how about you? I think you
Yeah,
have a lot to share.
I don't know, but then actually, blue personalities, they have a certain potential. I mean, we should know how to tap their energies. It's like my boy, though, I have to use literally the mind mapping and the flow chart without any pictures. I need to show that this is a picture, and it's waste of talking to them for long hours. It's better you take a paper, take a pen, and then just start explaining any concept. Like this particular thing is divided into two divisions, and the positive effects of this division is this, and negative is this. It's just like a kind of flow chart. So their brains will be so fast to this particular protocol because their brains are organized in such a way that if this kinds of flow charts are given to them, they will easily get connected. And later also, when they grow up also, everything they'll try to see in terms of that flow charts and mind mapping only, because they wanted it in a kind of pattern. So in order to deal a blue child, it's like keep on showing them those flow charts, and the work will be very easy for us. And in future also, everything they will patternize, they will understand the concept, same just like a mind map. So that will help them. And for a parent also, it will be very easy. Even now, he is in engineering second year, but then I need to literally take a paper and pen to make his senses alert and get attached to that kind of pattern of thinking. But the work will be very easy. Even to take something in the fridge, I have to tell, go straight, open the door. In the third rack, you'll get this one. Then he will go easily and get it. If my husband tells it, he gets confused. He'll open the fridge and he'll think where it is. My daughter doesn't need all that. She has that common sense to do. But this guy, he needs everything in the form of pattern. So just we can analyze ourselves and also the people around us. So if they are blue, it's better to, break our language in terms of a kind of flow charts or just simple things, but in an organized way, so that they can understand deeply. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, nice, Pranavi. You are very smart that I think you know that what to communicate and how to communicate with the different personalities, and how to make the things work. Otherwise, I think if we are communicating different way, that would create some problems. Okay.
Yeah, there
Telling
will
them in
be
different directions, they won't
yes,
be able to
and
understand.
exactly. And as you said, the repercussions also, it should be point wise, like bullet points. So if you go for this, this will be this. That's it. You are not supposed to take for longer hours, just shortcut, but in the form of pattern. So they get easily connected. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So the key message we have learned from this chapter is, if you want a blue person to trust you, be consistent, be clear, and be competent. That's the key message we have the entire this chapter covers. And I would like to share the small practical takeaways. Prepare before discussions when you are approaching the blue person, and prove your points with evidence. Without evidence, they don't trust you. Be patient. Sometimes they don't understand that, they don't hear you. Be patient, because telling that statistics accuracy, it will take some time. Keep your promises. That's very important. I think when you are approaching blue people, keep your promises. If you don't keep your promises, then you have to lose your credibility. Okay, with this, we end this chapter here, how the blue behaviors. Let's move to that. The next chapter we have read about how to deliver the bad news, or how to give the feedback to that people. Today we have read about how to feedback to a red. Giving feedback is an art. People, I think we cannot go and tell them very openly that, hey, this is what I felt, and this is what you have to understand. There are different ways to tell feedback. There's a one common method we tell the feedback. It's a sandwich method. Commentation, recommendation, and commentation. When you open with that, if someone did something, if you openly said that about that negative things first, people wouldn't be listen to hear you. You say something about good thing. Hey, this is what you did better, good, and then you add upon what are the area of improvements and what are the feedbacks you want to apply or what are the changes you have to apply. Then again you have to come back with that, the good things. That's the sandwich method. This way. And also one common phrase that we use: criticize in private and appreciate in public. This is one very common, very powerful phrase it is. We can think about all times, okay, how am I doing it when I'm going to talk about someone or when I'm going to criticize someone? Am I doing this one? Or am I appreciating them very well in the public, or am I criticizing them very public? Because if you criticize them in public, it will hurt the ego or it will create emotions. And also, if you tell them something in the private or appreciate them in private, hey, why can't you say this in the group? Let people also learn. People, yeah, the human beings are expecting that appreciations and recognitions. The one who uses these two tools, though, that people love to have them in that along with them. Now, whatever we have read about today's feedback, how to give feedback to that, anyone would like to share any thoughts about today's reading? Please.
Reds, so they don't like that sugarcoating language. And the first thing is you should be so confident and so positive in front of them, because they always have an eye on you to stoop you to a downer level. So it's like at a physical appearance, you have to be so confident and so positive that you should match to his vibes of his energy at least. And then never give any kind of sugar coating words to them. It's better to give them an authentic and a straight feedback. So because their vibe is that, so you can be straight with them and talk whatever is needed over there, provided you need to present yourself in a very positive and radiant way. Otherwise, there is always a chance to get for a red personality to deviate from the subject, because he would be having bouts of ego. You need to match that energy level first and then be straight to give the feedback. In short, yeah, that's what
Yes.
I understood.
Yes, yes. That is the emotions and talking about all those things and bring up with that the backstories. They wouldn't be interested to listen all those things. Okay, I would like to hear from Vidya. Vidya, do you want to share something about today's reading? I think you will keep silent and also not get chance to read the book today. Would you like to share any thoughts about how to give feedback
Yeah,
to Red?
regarding giving feedback to Reds, I remember a family member is a Red. It's a textbook classic definition of Red, and one of the things that had to be given feedback, uh, she was like, her daughter was having some issues. Daughter meaning she was just a small child, around 4 or 5 years. And she used to have this habit about bedwetting. So the parents took the child to the doctor, and the doctor, asked, talked separately to the child and then to each of the parents. Okay. And the mother is the Red, typical Red. And when once the child's feedback was received by the doctor, then the doctor actually called the father and said that, see, basically, your wife is very dominating, and that is the reason the child is actually expressing this, feeling of fear, feeling of uncertainty through this behavior, bedwetting behavior. So, this is something that you need to be aware of. And the husband said that, yes, I am aware that my wife is a little dominating. Even I'm not sure what to do. Then the doctor called the mother and then gave her small pointers about how to change it and how to communicate in a different way with the child. And slowly over time, the bedwetting stopped. But then afterwards, we were talking to the mother, and she had realized that it was her own behavior which had caused that. Because she was dominating, she used to beat the child, she used to scold the child in front of people. It was like a lot of aggressive behavior that was not required for such a small child. So I remember that, giving the feedback, the doctor's feedback was in a way very, very small, minor, like small examples where he pointed out what she could do differently. And then she started behaving in a better way. So in a red, that's what it looks like, that, if you tell them directly, they may be a little aggressive and they may not accept it. So you have to talk to them in a way that they will start accepting it, and that is very important. And in this example also, they have given the same thing, the sales director example, where specific examples were pointed out, and then the person agreed that, okay, I could do it differently.
Thanks, Vidya, for sharing the example. Yes, I think here when we are having some problems, whom we are going to approach and what the simple solutions. That is why the expert advice will always find giving us some like some solution to the problem instead of hearing here and there. On small things, it will make a big change. Thank you for sharing this. Anyone would like to talk about the right behavior, the giving feedback to the right people? Otherwise, we can call it for the day. I think when you are giving a feedback to the right, you have to be direct and brief. This is what you're supposed to do. I think there is no emotions won't work, and you also let them know that you are respecting them or respecting their decisions and strengths. If you are putting them down, then it will hurt the ego, and they wouldn't be interested to listen, even if you have some valid points you have. And here we have to focus on the solutions, not on the problems. The red people, they always focus on that directive and they want what the solution can be. Okay, there's a problem happened. How we can fix it? That is what you have to think about it. There is no talk about thinking about hey, why it happened, what happened, the problems, repeating the problems that won't help them. And there is no emotional language, that no empathy, all those things, it will not work out. They are not interested to listen all this empathy, and don't argue with them. If you start arguing them, if that is something goes wrong, then that also it will backfire. That's all for the today's reading, and let's call it for the day. And we have this chapter. Yeah, yeah,
Rajesh,
Anjali.
I would like to say
Yeah,
just 2
please.
minutes. So what Vidya said, no, I also remind one thing. I was dealing with one such family, and the father was only approaching for the counseling. That child was 2.5 years when she started. She was a cheerful child, and everything was normal. But after 2.5 years, when she was being taken care by a babysitter, and her mother also started working, she started becoming silent and like scared all the time, most of the time. So no one was able to realize what exactly is happening. They said this might be a normal behavior, and she was not speaking at all. She became so silent. Later on, now after 6 years, she has been diagnosed with autism. So that developed that terror of her mother and the babysitter, because they were like forcing her to eat, forcing her to do all the activities. Even the toilet habits were not taught to her. She just forgot that child. No, she was not able to cope up with the pressure, kind of pressure. And ultimately, maybe she would be having some traits earlier, but later on, now she is a proper autistic child. So this happens, the kind of behavior or the pressure, no, the red person radiates. It is sometimes very negative. And regarding the feedback, giving a feedback to a red person, in fact, giving criticism to any color or any person is not a proper way, and that too publicly. So if anyone has to give any criticism, or anyone is against any behavior, or they want to say, make it a feedback kind of thing, reframe. Because in my family also, as I said, my daughter, no, she gets offended if I tell her any, I point out her any wrongdoing, or I would say ki, okay, you could. So I have to reframe it, that there is another way you can do it in this manner, you try it next time. Or why not to do, because it might create problem when we are showing possibilities of some adverse situation developing because of this behavior, we can just give them or the different idea, or we give different viewpoint. You see, this could be a another way where which way you can handle or you can respond. So we have to give a feedback, not a criticism. It should be, the first thought should be there that it is a, and that too a positive feedback where the possibility of correction is there. If we are just pointing out without any solution, the person might not take, especially the red, when they are full of ego and self confidence and they have all the answers. They are ready to blame the person, whoever is blaming them, or so they are ready to turn the tables around. To such a person, go with the feedback and a solution. Okay, if you are doing this, the result would be better. So that is, I understood, as the author also said, that slowly, step by step, he was pointing out and he was taking care of all the problems, issues with the red person. So that is what I understood, that it has to be gradually and in a positive manner to be done, and it should be along with a solution oriented or a result oriented feedback, not a direct criticism. That's all.
Thank you, Julie. Today we have heard a lot about the practical experiences and how the small acts, how it impacts the people lives, especially the childs and the things. Thank you everyone for sharing great thing, and the key message for the last chapter we have read: to handle red, show the courage, clarity, and the confidence. That is more important. With this, we come to end of today's session, and let's meet again tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. See you all. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, thank you, Rajesh. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you all. You all
Thank
have
you
a
all.
great day. Bye bye.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
All, yeah, bye. Bye.